G'day, it's Leon here. In this video today we're going to talk about emotions and why they are such an important part of being able to understand them so that we can understand ourselves. In our Freedom Quest we have a whole module based around understanding the deeper emotions, like the major ones: fear, anger, sadness, shame, guilt, and so on. But probably the one that comes up for a lot of people is anger, so I'm going to talk a bit more about that today. But in general, why our emotions rule us is a really important module, a really important understanding, so that we can realise what we can do about it and how it's a good thing to have emotions. Like, they're not something that we should try to push away or suppress or hide or run from. And then becoming aware, like we've talked about awareness a lot in the first video, but becoming aware of our emotions and what it is that's pushing our buttons, so to speak, so that we know where we're not free. Meaning, if some situation or other person can push our buttons, there's a strong point around that as a guiding signal. So that's showing you that there's something unhealed in you, because the reality is nobody external can actually cause you to get angry or make you feel sad or anything like that. It's all you. It's all your interpretation and perspective of the situation. Now, you're probably thinking, like, hang on, Leon, that's not true. My partner did this, or my boss sacked me, or someone ripped me off. And I get that. I've been through these things, so I understand that there's real human pain and an understanding of these being hard things to just say, oh, we shouldn't have an emotion around it. I'm not saying that at all. We definitely can have the emotion, but we need to actually understand that it's teaching us, guiding us, and there is ways to deal with these emotions rather than just parking them or sweeping them under the rug. Because the more that we do that, the more they build into something. So I'll talk about emotions, and when I do, think energy, because energy is something that people sort of understand, and energy cannot be destroyed. It just must be transformed and harnessed. So it's a good thing, right? We need energy. So energy, if you break up the word emotion, is E-motion, is energy in motion. So once that energy is not in motion or expression, therefore it's stuck. And picture trying to push a ball underwater. What's going to happen? You might hold it for a little bit, and then the pressure is going to build and it's going to pop out of the water. That's what happens with our emotions when we store them and push them away and avoid them, or live in denial, like we've talked about in the last video. So what we need to understand is that no emotion's going to go away, because it's stored energy, until we express it or transform it. And by transforming it, what I'm saying there is by having a different perspective and doing some of the things that we're going to teach you in the Freedom Quest to unlock how that has been a benefit and how that has served you. And again, you might say, how could that possibly serve me? For example, my wife cheated. Well, in the moment, it's not going to feel like that. But in time, there's probably going to be things that you'll uncover doing this work, where you realise that you probably weren't happy, or you weren't being treated right, or maybe it's led you to a beautiful relationship down the track that you are quite content in. Maybe it's led you to your dream job or travel or all sorts of things, but I'm probably getting off track. It's just to understand that each emotion has validity for us, and it teaches us. And the more we are free within us and understanding of ourselves, the more easier it is to not be triggered by emotions. And of course, we're always still humans. There's always things that still happen forever. But having this awareness that emotions are not good nor bad, they're neutral, and we can neutralize them to understand that the bad always has a good, and so on. Therefore, there's there can be really brilliance in understanding ourselves on an emotional level. So the reason that we've also pushed away, suppressed, numbed, or not wanted to feel our emotions is not really anyone's direct fault. There's been, for a very long time, a normal sense of, avoiding emotions and depth, because we didn't want to feel because it might hurt, and we were taught to suck it up. And in the past, it was a belief that if we toughened up and we didn't deal with what's happening internally and we pushed it away, it was done and it was gone, and we'd get over it. And society right now has proved that actually isn't the case at all, because there's many people out there in their 30s and 40s reacting their childhood, because they're sort of, think about that word, when we react, you're actually acting from the past. So you're actually reenacting a situation that you've already been through, and it's just different scenario, because you get anger around a situation or fearful. Think of somebody who's been through trauma. When another situation comes up similar, so for me that was car crashes, and I'd be driving along as a passenger in a car and start to freak out and freeze up. But in that moment I was safe, but we're actually reacting from the past. So what we've got to do is understand our emotions and deal with these sort of past hurts and traumas, and really dig into those layers so we can understand and balance our emotions for the future. And then, of course, when we're actually in a new situation, if we've cleaned up the past, there's not sort of layers stacked on top of each other that you're reacting from. It's only from that moment, and it's much easier to deal with, believe me, because you can immediately balance things and ask yourself what's going on here and how can I process this quicker and understand it and all that. So, but yeah, I'll briefly talk about anger, because it's obviously a big one that everybody sees as a major problem in our world, and that's true, but it's actually not the anger that's the problem. It's how it's expressed, or the storage vessel of the anger that's been built up for years and years and years. So again, that suppression of an emotion will be like the ball under the water that's going to burst out like you wouldn't even believe. So anger, I feel, has to be dealt with on all the anger in our past to right now. And then it doesn't mean we're not going to have any anger in the future. That's not realistic. But it means when anger comes up, we won't be reacting from our past anger. We're just going to be potentially angry with the situation at hand, which is fair, because anger can be a good thing. Anger is helpful to show you when you have a boundary, or when you love someone, or when you're getting disrespected. But again, some simple ways, without going on for too long, about how to deal with anger is when you've cleaned up the past and anger comes up, you can immediately try your best to get some self-talk going on, like about breathing and coming back to the moment. And then if you really need to, if you've got a lot of anger, you can have some techniques set up where you can go and punch a bag, or punch a pillow, or if you've got a pool or access to water, you can swim and use powerful exercise and scream underwater. Or if you're out in the paddock, you can scream in the paddock. Exercise in any form is going to help with that anger. So expression of it is really important. And the thing as well that we underestimate, especially around anger, is a pen and paper, and writing everything out. And it can be unfiltered, because nobody's going to look at that except you. And then you can tear it into pieces. You can burn it. You can scrunch it up, stomp on it, bury it, whatever you need to do. But you get the point. We're dealing with what's inside us so that it doesn't build up into layers. It's probably one of my favourite topics and areas, and I could go on and on about this, because emotions are such a strong thing to evaluate and not just push aside, which has been a normal for society, and that's not helping. I mean, we see this all the time of how much pain there is in the world, and it's people reacting from their past. So the sooner we can dig into these things, then we can have a more neutral base to move forward. And that's one of the major modules in the Freedom Quest. So I can't wait to show you all that. Thank you so much for listening. And just remember, if you have anger or any feeling coming up, it is actually okay to feel it. How you express it is the important part. Making sure that it's safe, like sadness as well. If you're expressing that by harming yourself or others, that's not helpful. But if you're expressing it by crying and allowing that feeling, that is actually okay, no matter what you've been taught. There's a reason that we have tears, and it's the amount of love that we have built up starts to leak out our eyes. So there's nothing wrong with that. It's just been perceived as weak. I hope that helps, and can't wait to share more with you. Thanks for watching.